So the world after the banks can custody Bitcoin will be, I could have Bitcoin at a bank too big to fail, backed by $1 trillion balance sheet. They would give me 500 basis points of yield. You know how much money you get if you put your money in T-bills right now? You get 550 basis points risk-free. I think that the banks will give Bitcoiners 550 basis points risk-free when they can custody the Bitcoin.
In a recent interview on Bitcoin Magazine, Michael Saylor delves into the future of Bitcoin as it begins to intersect with traditional banking systems. Saylor explores the potential impacts of banking institutions embracing Bitcoin, raising questions about whether this integration will benefit or jeopardize the decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies. He discusses how Bitcoin's core principles might either align with or conflict with the operational and regulatory frameworks of banks. Currently, Bitcoin is trading around $59,000, having seen a slight 1% decrease in the past day and a more significant 43% drop over the past week. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
And so when you have the government hostile to the crypto custodian, hostile to the banks, hostile to the institutional custodian, you're kind of you're undermining the ETF industry, and you're undermining the asset. So the third plank is we just need for the SEC, the OCC, the FDIC to allow banks like JP Morgan and Citigroup and Goldman. But by the way, you might not like JP Morgan because of what the CEO has said. But let me guarantee you that within a year or 2 years of when it's possible to custody Bitcoin, JP Morgan will start a process to do that. And within 4 years, they'll be custodying Bitcoin because it's money, and that's what they do. So you want a world where Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, JP Morgan can custody Bitcoin, because if they can custody it, they can buy it for you. And if they can buy it, they can sell it. And if they can buy it and sell it and custody it, they will give you a loan on it. And they will also give you yield on it. And so the world would be very different if you got paid 5% interest on your Bitcoin while you're actually holding the Bitcoin. And I think the other thing is they will give you a loan at SOFR, which is 550 basis points plus 50 basis points spread. So you can get a loan of 6% from Citibank or Bank of America when they can custody the Bitcoin. And then the third thing is they'll let you post the Bitcoin as collateral against your house or your mortgage, and you'll be able to I think refinance your mortgage maybe to 100% loan to value or 120% loan to value by putting the Bitcoin as collateral. Like right now, if you go to some of these banks and you had a $5 million house and you wanted to borrow money, they might say, well, I can loan you 70% or 60%. I'll loan you $3 million against the house at the best interest rate. It used to be 2.5%, by the way. When I told people to take mortgages and buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin was $40,000, and the mortgages were 2.5% interest. I took infinite crap for that, by the way, infinite. Well, so you want to borrow the $3 million. What they would say is, I'll give you a loan for $3 million against the house, or I'll make the mortgage $5 million if you post some securities like Apple stock. If you want to post T-bills or Apple stock or the S&P ETF, they will give you a $5 million mortgage at 2.5% interest. And you could have done that with those institutional grade assets. Imagine a world where you can top up your mortgage with Bitcoin, borrow at 3 or 4 or 5% interest for 10 to 30 years, right? And what's the requirement? The bank's got to custody the Bitcoin. They got to recognize it as an asset that's just as good as Apple stock just as good as a T-bill.
As we just heard from Michael Saylor, let's shift focus to another monumental aspect of Bitcoin's journey, its emergence in political discourse. For the first time, presidential candidates are publicly addressing Bitcoin's role, marking what Saylor believes to be the most critical moment in its history. This acknowledgement at such a high level of government could signal a pivotal shift in how cryptocurrencies are perceived and regulated in the future. Saylor emphasizes the significance of this moment not just for Bitcoin, but for all digital currencies, as it represents a potential turning point toward mainstream acceptance. Let's continue exploring the important insights shared by Michael Saylor in this unprecedented discussion at Bitcoin Magazine.
This is the biggest week in the history of Bitcoin, so this is a big deal. I mean, this is the week when we have 2 of 3 presidential candidates. You have a former president, perhaps the next president here, as Trump said, 10 senators, a lot of congressmen, governors, and the amount of media attention is profound. So this is it's a coming out party for Bitcoin, I think, and it's extraordinary week because they recognize the political power of the community. They also recognize this as a technology critical to the success of America and of global significance. And so I think it is a great week. This is an inflection point. And before I tell you the next set of inflection points, let's talk about why this is an inflection point. This is an inflection point because there's a subtext here, an implication, and the implication is Bitcoin is digital property, Bitcoin is property rights, Bitcoin is ethical, Bitcoin is technically sound, Bitcoin is economically sound, Bitcoin is an instrument of economic empowerment, and the establishment now agrees with you, right? And we all knew it 4 years ago, but it would have been not clear the establishment knew it. The mainstream media in 2020 didn't even cover the industry. And so I think that this is a wake-up call this week to the mainstream and the establishment around the world that Bitcoin is here to stay, and Bitcoin is the future. Truth is, if the United States seized a car, if they seized a drug shipment, if they seized a crate of foreign currency, if they seized pesos, if they seized euros, if they seized paintings or collectibles, if they seized your house, they would sell it, right? I mean, the normal thing is to auction off any kind of that property. So the fact that he would note that it's going to be the policy of the government not to sell it elevates Bitcoin as property that is economically superior to all the other property. So first we have an endorsement, an acknowledgement, Bitcoin is property. And if it is property, you have property rights to it. The second thing is it's better property than that other property, and I recognize it. The third is we're going to create a national United States Bitcoin strategic reserve. That's a big deal. You know, we go from Bitcoin being something that's toxic that you want to get rid of to something that is virtuous that we want to hold on to. So I think that that's a profound thing that just happened. Now Bitcoin is the new world, and it's risky and dangerous, and people have suffered, like Ross Ulbricht, to come here for this property, and he recognizes that, he honors that, and he's willing to actually stand up and tell the entire world that. That will be an observation that ripples everywhere in the world, throughout the establishment and throughout other governments. And there's going to be a bunch of German politicians looking at that, saying, well, if the U.S. is not going to sell its Bitcoin, we must have been pretty stupid to sell our Bitcoin. And I think that's big move forward.
In this interview, He offers a compelling narrative on how Bitcoin intersects with traditional financial systems and its groundbreaking entry into the political arena. We'd love to hear your thoughts on a few questions. How do you think the involvement of banks will influence Bitcoin? And what impact do you believe the ongoing political discussions will have on its future? For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.